I'm at the foothills of Mount Fuji at the Fuji Speedway. Now, Lexus India has invited me here to drive a bunch of Lexus cars. So that certainly got me excited. What got me even more excited is that they told me there's one model with a 3-letter word or a 3-letter name to it. Now, the last time they did that, it was a supercar, the Lexus LFA. So that got me really excited. However, it turned out to be this, the LBX, a compact, sporty crossover. I'm still excited because we have a racetrack at our disposal and this lovely little crossover to drive out there. And there is a chance that this vehicle might just come to India. Now, whether or not that happens is a story for another day. But for now, let's experience what the LBX is all about. The LBX stands for Lexus Breakthrough Crossover. And like most Lexus models, it finds its roots in a Toyota, the Yaris Cross, which in turn is a jacked up version of the Yaris hatchback. Neither of these cars are sold to us, but the LBX is being considered for India and could make sense only if they are able to undercut the BMW 2 Series Grand Coupe. While that would make it the most accessibly priced Lexus, the idea of the LBX is to act as a premium urban runabout for someone who already has a Lexus or two in the garage. It's not aimed at newcomers in that sense. But if it does attract them too, it's a win-win. After all, who doesn't like volumes? Now, one new design element that you will see on all modern Lexus cars is the badging. You get this spaced lettering instead of where the logo would have sat on the previous generations of Lexus cars. Especially with the model like the LBX, which is an entry spec model, I think it makes a lot of sense to have this kind of lettering because it is going to introduce a lot of new people to the Lexus brand. So there you would want the model names, you would want the brand name to be highlighted a lot more compared to the bigger Lexuses that are bought by people who already know what Lexus is. With this one, you want to announce to the world that you have now entered the Lexus way of life. Compared to the rest of the Lexus lineup though, the LBX is quite sober and has an understated look. So the LBX is the smallest crossover or the smallest vehicle from Lexus at the moment. And in terms of the design, it doesn't go as overboard or as radical as some of the bigger Lexus models that we've seen. Yes, there is still the spindle grille or at least the shape of it, but it's not as exaggerated as we've seen on some of the other vehicles. I think something like the new LM would have looked a lot nicer. It would have given a lot more character to the front end. But even the way it stands right now with these sharp lighting elements, I think it looks quite nice. And especially in the shade of red, it looks very sporty too. The low-slung hood and the minimal openings at the grille help the LBX achieve excellent aerodynamic efficiency, says Lexus. If you know your cars well, you will see clear hints of the Yaris in the design of the LBX, especially in the headlights and the taillights. It may look like a hatchback from the back, but it's still got some luxury elements like a power tailgate. I don't remember when was the last time I saw a power tailgate on a car of this size. So the boot space, the boot volume is actually quite good. The loading lip is a little high, but getting stuff in is not going to be that much of a problem because the overall height of the vehicle is not that tall. But like I said, the overall volume is quite good. And then you also get 40-60 split for the seats. So you also get a little bit of versatility if you so need. It's based on the same TNGA-B platform as the Yaris Cross. And the modularity has helped the LBX gain 20mm longer wheelbase, which frees up more space in the cabin. Given the compact dimensions of this car, the ingress and egress is actually not too bad. It's not too hatchback-like. The edge point is actually quite high. So, like I said, ingress and egress, even for older people, is not going to be a problem at all. The knee room is decent. I'll not call it very spacious. Even the headroom, not too bad. The view outside of the windows, not too bad either. However, this is a compact cabin, so 4 adults over long distances may become a little cumbersome, but for city commutes, this should be really good. So overall, I like the comfort. The contouring of the seats is also quite nice, but getting 3 adults back in here is going to be quite a bit of squeeze. So 2 adults at the back is the ideal configuration. You also get 2 USB-C ports, but there are no rear AC vents. But this is a compact cabin again, so the overall cooling efficiency should be quite good. In fact, Lexus and Toyota cars, we know that the cooling efficiency is really good. Now, there is black upholstery here, so the overall perception of space feels a little tight, but knowing Lexus, knowing a luxury brand like this, there'll obviously be other color options as well that you can choose from. I've already seen a brown and black combination in one of the other cars. That looks quite nice too, but I think a brighter cabin will work better, especially if Lexus decides to bring this to India. It is primarily an urban runabout then, as far as space and comfort are concerned. But while on the move, the LBX will give you a similar premium feel in its cabin elements as the rest of the Lexus cars. It has a similar steering, top quality materials, option of vegan leather in multiple colors for the upholstery, and even the push-style doorknobs on the inside like its bigger siblings. The sound deadening is far better than the Yaris Cross 2, we are told. And while we didn't get a chance to drive it in the city, the brisk drives on the track were a mixed bag as far as the noise insulation is concerned. As you would expect, with a hybrid powertrain, the vehicle starts off in a very silent mode because it is usually starting off in a pure EV mode. Now, the transition from battery to the petrol assistance obviously is not as discreet. With this smaller setup, it is pretty evident the moment those batteries are assisted by the petrol motor. It's a lot noisier than a similar powertrain that we've experienced with the Toyota Hyryder, for example, which also uses a 1.5 litre petrol engine and a hybrid powertrain. But in typical Lexus elements, the road noises are curbed quite well, the wind noises are curbed quite well. The powertrain noises are allowed to filter in to add that little bit of excitement, and there is only so much you can do with a setup like this, which is running a puny 1.5 litre engine. This is the M15A FXE powertrain, and compared to the M15D FXE, which belongs to the same family and powers the Toyota Urban Cruiser Hyryder, this one puts out 136 PS of power. So the LBX is based on the Toyota Yaris Cross, but because of the modular architecture of the platform, they've been able to increase the wheelbase compared to the Yaris Cross. Now, of course, the Yaris Cross is not available to us in India, so to put things into perspective, it is a small, compact crossover. And so is the LBX. It is quite compact. In fact, the moment you get in, you will get a feeling of this being a tight hatchback and not really a SUV. So you're not going to get that commanding view of the road. This is going to feel very hatchback-like in its proportions. Compared to the Yaris Cross, the LBX places the front seats lower for a sportier driving position. It also claims a lower center of gravity with a 45mm reduction in height, and the large 18-inch wheels with 225 section tires stretched to the far ends of the car help the LBX handle in a very sporty manner while maintaining easy maneuverability and a short turning radius. But there is, of course, the Lexus element to it, which means it has better sound deadening compared to a run-of-the-mill Toyota. It has got better handling package, it's got better steering responses. So like I said in one of the other reviews as well, the focus for Lexus right now with all their new models is to put a smile on your face, right? So one of them is the luxury element, the other is of course the driving element. So compared to the previous generations of many Lexus cars that we've driven, the steering responses are much quicker on this. It feels a lot more direct, it feels a lot more precise. It is an EPS, yes, but a very nicely tuned one at that. That dead at center feel that we had with previous Lexuses, it is sort of gone. But here on this tight track, the car feels quite composed, it feels quite nice. Now in terms of the powertrain, nothing to write home about. This is a 1.5 litre self-charging hybrid system. Now this is a FF configuration, which means front engine, front wheel drive, but there is an all-wheel drive configuration that can also be offered with this powertrain with its hybrid. And in terms of the hybrid itself, Lexus says that compared to their previous generations of hybrids, especially these smaller hybrid powertrains, the LBX is able to do a lot more speed and a lot more distance on pure EV mode as well. Now here on the track, they are not allowing us to drive in a pure EV mode, and we aren't really road testing this car. But if it does come to India, that is where we will road test this and we'll see what kind of pure EV figures we get with this vehicle. There are no driving modes to choose from apart from an eco mode, but the car will detect load while scaling inclines or detect lateral movement while cornering at speed and alter the powertrain responses automatically to ensure that there is enough punch from the hybrid system to ensure good driving fun. The braking, however, feels quite nice. Despite this being a hybrid, despite this having recuperation with the braking, The brakes don't feel wooden, they don't feel artificial. The brake feel is actually quite good. What I also like is the kind of visibility that the car offers. Now this is a very tight section of the track, but the kind of visibility that I get is excellent. The A-pillar is not too intrusive. There is a fair bit of distance between the wing mirrors and the A-pillar. There's a little bit of this spotter glass as well. So all of this allows a good cornering visibility. And in city environments, in tight spaces, all of this is going to definitely come in handy. The hybrid system uses an eCVT gearbox, and that explains the high revving nature of the powertrain and the prominent rubber band effect. Now this is the base spec model, but the higher spec variants will also allow you to get paddle shifters behind the wheel. So when you want to take manual control of the gearbox, you can do that as well. Now think of this to be something like the Audi Q2. It is comparable to that in terms of the way it drives and in the kind of footprint that it has, in the overall feel. It's very comparable to the Q2. It's not something like the BMW X1. It doesn't feel as large as the BMW X1, but it certainly feels very sporty to drive. So if you are purely looking at that sporty character, it is comparable to X1 in that sense, but it is not comparable to the X1 on the kind of size that it offers. And I think that is where Lexus India is still a little undecided on whether to bring this car to India or not, and if yes, when. Because they will have to create quite a bit of noise about the product. For the kind of dimensions that it has, they will have to literally make sure that people come to the showrooms or people come to the Lexus experience centers and actually experience the product. Because on the face of it, on paper, it may look like a very compact car, but once you drive it, there's every chance that it might just convince you to put down that money. So let's hope Lexus India is able to do a few customer clinics and understand if India is ready for the LBX. I think it should be a nice addition to Lexus India's portfolio.